Here's your China brief for today. A look at what's making headlines in national newspapers. President Xi Jinping's call for stronger border, coastal, and air defense is dominating coverage across state news outlets here. The party's official mouthpiece, People's Daily, has several front-page pieces about strengthening the military. Now, Xi gave the message ahead of today's 97th anniversary of the PLA. That's the People's Liberation Army, also known as Army Day. Now, he reportedly noted opportunities and challenges for China's borders as the global landscape changes.
And China is flexing its military might in a documentary airing in time for that PLA anniversary. Its producer, the international broadcaster CGTN, says the six-part series showcases the PLA's reform and modernization. The first episode features the Navy and key achievements, including the commissioning of China's first domestically built aircraft carrier. And that call from Xi and the media's messaging about the military is coming as tensions simmer with China's neighbors. Let's get to our Asia government and economy correspondent, Rebecca Choong Wilkins. She's with us here in our Hong Kong studio. So what prompted this call from the president?
Well, as you say, not an enormous surprise, right, given the backdrop of border conflicts that China has right now. So think about that India conflict, a very bitter dispute over the border there, going back to 2020 when we saw soldiers on both sides lose their lives. It's the reason that India-China relations have been rocky, really, for the last couple of years, or there's a struggle to get that back on the road. Look at the South China Sea. So in some ways, I think the message itself, not entirely surprising that China would be looking to sort of strengthen its borders. But the timing is significant. And of course, the very public display, as you mentioned, across a lot of Chinese state media. Today is the 97th birthday for the PLA, as the CCP marks it. So that time is significant. We're also into that period where we may see Beidaihe. This is a sort of annual conclave of party elders that meet typically in August, so we're coming up into the run-up for that as well.
Yeah, speaking of South China Sea, Beijing has appointed, fairly abruptly if I'm not mistaken, a new commander there. What do we know?
Yes, and this looks to be significant for two reasons, really. The first is the location. South China Sea. I mean, most analysts, aside from Taiwan, would probably identify this as the riskiest or the most important flashpoint for a potential hot conflict in the Indo-Pacific, primarily because since Ferdinand Marcos came to power, he has really shifted the relationship with China. The Philippines now is pushing back on nearly all of China's claims in that part of the world, and of course has moved much closer to the US. We have agreements to open US naval bases and so on in the Philippines. And so these clashes between Chinese and Philippine vessels have intensified in recent months, and so there's a lot of focus on that part of the world. The second sort of significance is really the backdrop against this happening. We have very little details. I should caveat that heavily. We have no idea really what happened to the predecessor of this commander. Could be, of course, all above board, but because of this corruption scandal that we've seen, this investigation going on since the last summer, at least 16 senior military officials have been removed. We also know his predecessor was age 60. The typical de facto age for retirement is about 65. So very, very hard to speculate, but that backdrop, I think, adds significance for folks sort of really closely trying to make sense of a little bit of how China is thinking about some of its military disputes on the one hand, and also how it's dealing with sort of domestic issues as well.